2311 Racing has officially announced that Travis Pastrana is going to enter the 2023 Daytona 500 with 2311 Racing. What's going on, guys? It's Daniel, and welcome back to the video. As I just mentioned a second ago, Travis Pastrana is going to enter the 2023 Daytona 500 with 2311 Racing. The number he's going to drive is number 67. Very interesting correlation. Bubba Wallace drives a 23, Tyler Reddick drives a 45, and now Travis Pastrana will drive the number 67. He will also have Eric Phillips as a crew chief, who's been a veteran crew chief for many, many years in NASCAR, whether it's Xfinity Series. He's been around for a very, very long time. Eric Phillips is going to be the crew chief this year for him in this race, as, of course, Eric Phillips joins 2311 Racing, which was announced months ago. You will also have Black Rifle Coffee as a sponsor. Black Rifle Coffee has sponsored drivers like Ty Dillon and Noah Gragson. They will sponsor Travis Pastrana in this year's Daytona 500. It basically has been expected for the last couple days. It was first reported by The Athletic that this was going to happen, where Travis Pastrana was going to enter the Daytona 500 with 2311 Racing. It all started from a teaser video that came out Friday afternoon showing the back of somebody's head. A lot of people initially thought, like myself, thought it was going to be Carl Edwards, because Carl Edwards has driven for Toyotas in the past, and a lot of people thought Carl Edwards, like myself, was going to return to the NASCAR Cup Series. And there was others indicating that it may have been just a Tyler Reddick sponsor, and others were indicating that this might have also could have been Kurt Busch making a return. But Kurt Busch at this point, if I'm not mistaken, has not been medically cleared to race in this year's Daytona 500 at this current moment and at this current time. In addition to that, this is really, really huge in my opinion for the sport. You have a driver like Travis Pastrana who's going to be entering. The last time Travis Pastrana entered a NASCAR race in general in NASCAR's top three divisions, I believe, was in 2020 at Las Vegas for Nice Motorsports, which I think he ended up crashing out, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember if it was the spring race or the fall race he entered, but he entered that race with Nice Motorsports, so it's been a couple years since Travis Pastrana has raced. Travis Pastrana, also, like I mentioned, is not new to NASCAR. He ran full-time in the Xfinity Series in 2013 for Roush Fenway Racing at the time, before it became RFK Racing. Albeit, let's be perfectly honest with you guys, I expected him to perform a lot better than he did, and he only got 4 top 10s with the team. He did get a pole at Talladega, which could play a factor since it is a super speedway track. That could play a factor, helping Travis Pastrana have a chance to be up front. But he didn't have a really good stint. But going back and talking about Travis Pastrana running in the Daytona 500, this really came out of nowhere and came out of left field. I don't think anybody until Friday really saw this coming. But when 2311 Racing teased this, everyone was like, okay, this is actually going to happen. And I think this is really, really huge for the sport, that Travis Pastrana is going to enter the 2023 Daytona 500. And for people complaining about Travis Pastrana entering, it's just a Daytona 500. It's not like Travis Pastrana is entering like an intermediate track or a short track. He's entering the Daytona 500, and he has experience in NASCAR as well. So let's cut Travis Pastrana a little bit of slack. Don't get me wrong, I would love for a driver like Carl Edwards to make a return to NASCAR, but at the same token and same time, I'm happy to see that 2311 Racing is going to be expanding their program going into this year and doing that. Which is another question to ask. It looks like 2311 Racing is going to be running this third car probably maybe in multiple races. The big question is what drivers are going to drive this 2311 Racing car throughout the year. I would think that Kurt Busch, if Kurt Busch is medically cleared, that this is going to be the number that Kurt is going to run. I would think Monster Energy would have backing with him this season if he does get to race in 2023. And I would think that this would be the number that Kurt would run. We don't know what races Kurt is going to run, though, at this current time, until it is officially announced and he's medically cleared. I know Curtis said he wants to run Watkins Glen. He wants to run Darlington. I know he probably wanted to run the Daytona 500, but again, unfortunately, it's kind of a little bit of risk, especially with the concussion issues that he unfortunately suffered. It was going to be a little bit of risk for him to go and enter that race, unfortunately. But at the same token, same time, you want Kurt's health to be in good shape, and he'll probably be intentionally in the booth maybe for the 500 if that maybe gets confirmed. Who knows at this point? But now we kind of discuss about another thing, and it's the fact, or other drivers maybe that can enter the Daytona 5 with the team. Obviously, you have some drivers maybe like a Sammy Smith, John Hunter Nemechek. Maybe they somehow get Carl Edwards to get an opportunity to enter with this team. Anything's possible at this point, but it's great to also see 2311 Racing expanding, and I think this is something for the future. I think eventually 2311, they're going to try to eventually get a this car full-time in the future, and I would think that this could be potentially maybe for Denny Hamlin if he does end up leaving Joe Gibbs Racing, especially with sponsorship issues with FedEx, or maybe they bring someone from the Xfinity Series up, like a John Hunter Nemechek, if Joe Gibbs Racing does not end up becoming available, or another team doesn't end up showing up. But we'll have to wait and see. But going back to this is absolutely huge. Legendary racer motorsports, Travis Pastrana entering. I think it's absolutely huge for the sport. The other thing now we need to talk about is open entries. This year's Daytona 500 is shaping up to be one of the biggest entry fields for the Daytona 500 we have seen in a very long time. Travis Pastrana has won the numbers at course of 67. You also have Jimmy Johnson entering in the number 84 for Legacy Motor Club, which was formerly Petty GMS Motorsports. Now they will be called Legacy Motorsports Club. He'll drive the 84 Carvana Chevy. Zane Smith is also expected to enter the 2023 Daytona 500. He's expected around 5 to 6 Cup Series races in the 2023 season. The question is, will he run that second Rick Ware car, or will he enter a third front row car? If he does enter that, basically enter that second Rick Ware car, the number 15, and not the front row car, there will be one less entry we have, but it's very possible that could end up being the case. He does run that or runs the front row car. Also, you have Austin Hill, who's been confirmed to run 6 NASCAR Cup Series races, both Daytona races, both Talladega races, and he'll also run at Michigan and the Chicago Street Course for Beard Motorsports, who expands their schedule going into the season. We don't know what the sponsors are going to be. Probably Beard Oil, or maybe Wendy somehow comes back. We don't know that at this particular point, but we know he'll be entering the number 62 car. And there's other possible entries as well for this year's Daytona 500. Julio Castroneves, there's a good chance he's going to enter the 2023 Daytona 500 in the number 50 car for the Money Team Racing. It sounds like Project 91 may not be running the Daytona 500. We know that they're wanting to run some select races, but we'll have to just wait and see what happens there. But it sounds like right now the Project 91 is not going to be entering the Daytona 500, and it sounds like they're going to be focusing basically on doing some road course races and maybe the street course race at Chicago as well. It's also very possible that Team Haysbert can enter 2 cars in this year's Daytona 500. Last year they entered with Jacques Villeneuve. There's a good chance they can enter the 26 and the 27 car as well. Wouldn't surprise me if Jacques Villeneuve enters once again for a second year in a row, and maybe Larice Hasemans drives the other car. That would get us up to, I think, 43 entries at this point. Also, you have the possibility of NY Racing still entering the Daytona 500. There's been rumors that they've sold their stuff off to 3F Racing, but according to multiple reporters like Bob Pockers, it sounds like NY Racing is still kind of in play and still a major possibility. And, of course, MBM Motorsports, another team that could enter the Daytona 500. MBM entered 2 cars. I would not think they'll run more than 1 car, but it's possible they do run 2 entries. And what about other possible entries in teams that can enter? I think anything's possible at this point. And with the Daytona 500 also selling out, which I think is really, really huge for the sport, I think this is such a cool story, though, going back and talking about Travis Pastrana. You're going to have a lot of big names trying to qualify in this year's Daytona 500, and this is shaping up to be one of the most exciting qualifying races. February 16th and February 15th are going to be 2 dates you're going to have to mark down and make sure you watch, because I think a lot of people are going to be tuning in, and I'm really excited. I am pumped and excited for this year's Daytona 500. I'm usually hyped for the beginning of the season, but I'm more hyped this year than I've probably been in the last couple of years, because you have so many big names entering this year's Daytona 500, and I think it's a very exciting time, not just for NASCAR, but for racing in general, because we're not that far away from the start of the season. Daytona 500 is only 33 days away, again, not very far from the season starting, and then, of course, you only got 19 days of the Busch Light Clash at the LA Coliseum, and that race is going to be very good as well. You've got Wiz Khalifa forming at that, and this season in general in 2023 is shaking up to be one of the most exciting seasons, and not only that, one of the most competitive fields we have seen in a very long time. You've got Kyle Busch going over to the 8 full time, and that's really exciting. You've got Todd Reddick joining 2311 and driving the 45. You've got Bubba Wallace, who's probably going to improve this upcoming season. You've got other drivers in the series, I think, that are really going to perform and do great. And you also got a lot of great things happening in the world of racing as well, which I think is really, really exciting and really fascinating at the same time as well. So if you're a fan of this sport, you should be really excited going to 500, and I cannot wait for this year's 2023 Daytona 500. Given my chances, though, to talk about the drivers who I think will make the field, I think Jimmy Johnson will qualify his way into Daytona 500 on pace and speed, and I also think Travis Pastrana will be able to make the show on Wednesday as well. I think 2311 is going to give them really fast cars. Generally, Toyota was really fast in qualifying at the Super Speedways last year, which is a really big surprise considering a lot of times Toyota kind of lacks a little bit of speed. But this past year, especially at Talladega in the fall race, they were really fast in the qualifying stretch, and I really think that they've got a good chance to win the pole for the 500. We'll have to wait and see what happens, but it's really exciting for sure, and I cannot wait for this year's 2023 Daytona 500, and I'm excited to see that Travis Pastrana is going to enter the 2023 Daytona 500 with 2311 Racing. Really looking forward to that and really excited for that. So, that is your today's breaking news NASCAR video. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe to the channel, notifications on so you're notified when a video does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support me on Patreon as well. Link in the description below over that, and comment below your thoughts below on today's video. How likely do you think Travis Pastrana is going to make the field for this year's Daytona 500? Let me know in the comments below. Do you think he makes it on Wednesday, or do you think he'll have to race his way in? If he has to race his way in, do you think he makes it there? Let me know in the comments below. Tomorrow on my channel, we're going to have a NASCAR news video discussing all the news over the last couple days, and there's been some other breaking news stories that I want to get to, including the Kevin Harvick news of him going to the SRX. Thursday could be another NASCAR news video. We'll have to wait and see. And Friday will be another NASCAR news video. And there may be another 2023 Daytona 500 entry list update video coming out maybe this weekend or maybe in the next week or so. We're just going to have to wait and see as we're getting really close to start the season. Next week is the Rolex 24, and I'm excited for the 2023 Daytona 500. So anyway, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's episode, and I'll see you guys next time for some more great, awesome NASCAR content and other motorsports content on the channel like this. Take care, everybody.